Um, I'm Raphaël, I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Alice, and what we're building is kind of an incentive layer for charities to be transparent about their impact. So basically what we're all about is about helping identify and then scale truly effective social and environmental projects, and I'm going to explain how that works through this presentation. The basics are that we're just creating incentives for three things. The first thing is that charities provide information about their impact. That we make sure that that impact data is reliable. And then finally, we incentivize people to systematically take all of that data, crunch it, and surface the most effective projects. It's a fairly complex, sophisticated protocol. It brings together a whole bunch of actors. It brings together donors, large and small donors. It brings together impact investors, charity evaluators. There are some governance protocols in there to ensure that there's a decentralized governance of the network. And there are also some data processing, data management processes in there as well. I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to cover a few of the things that we've built and that we're building right now. So if you know Alice already, it's probably because you've heard of our conditional donation app. It's something that we rolled out last year. The way that it works is that when you give to a social project on the platform, your money doesn't go straight to the charity. It only gets paid out when they can prove that they've actually achieved their goals. So the first pilot project that we did was with a homelessness charity based in the UK. They were helping 15 homeless people in London find accommodation, deal with mental health issues, with substance abuse issues, and every time that they wanted to get paid, they had to prove that they had actually achieved these goals. The reason why we started with this bit of the protocol is because there's a real problem with public trust in the charity sector. People are losing trust in charities, and they're giving less, and it's a real problem for the charity sector as a whole. It's a real threat to their revenue model. And we wanted to help reverse that trend so that charities can keep raising a lot of money for the great work that they do. This is how it works. So this is just a representation of the smart contracts. The charities will set goals before they start the project. In the case of the pilot, for example, they said, well, we're going to help people find accommodation. We'll get £200 for that. And then if we help them stay in their home for 6 months, we'll get another £700 or whatever. And then donors give to an escrow contract, essentially. And the money is held there until a validator comes in, verifies the proof, and that triggers the payments from the escrow donations to the charity. And in the case of the pilot, the validator was the Greater London Authority, which is the local government of London. In time, we'll build a decentralized validator market around that. But for the project, it was a nominated validator. And we had, so this is something that we presented at DEF CON 3 in November. I'm not going to go through it again, but basically we allow people to make donations in fiat, and we have a whole sort of back end with a stable coin and things like that. That's kind of a hybrid stack that's interesting in itself. Little by little, we're going to fully integrate into the network, but if you want to have a look at how we've managed that piece of the process, then please go ahead and look at that presentation. But what I want to talk about today more is the rest of the stuff that we're building. So Alice is not a donation platform. Donations are part of the protocol. They're a necessary part, but as I said, the end game is to focus on the impact data and make sure that that's transparent. Because as things currently stand, when it comes to impact data, we're stuck in prehistoric times and everybody keeps reinventing the wheel. You've seen what we've done there. The problem is that when you're a funder and you want to have access to information about a social project that you want to invest in, generally the data is not available, it's siloed, it's stuck in either the individual charities' databases or in other funders' databases. It's really hard to have access to that and then benchmark and compare projects if you want to choose really the best one in which to put your money. And conditional donations alone don't fully manage to solve that problem. It's an incentive for charities to be transparent because they only get paid if they get transparent, but it's not enough. So one of the things that we're building now is an impact investment module. The way that it works, so starting with the same starting point as before, goals are set, donors have put money into the escrow contract. But the big problem there, obviously, is that if you're a charity, especially a smaller charity, maybe with limited resources, you can't actually run a project before having some money up front. Because you only get paid by definition after you've achieved the goals. So that's where the impact investors come in. They provide the working capital for charities to start the project. They also underwrite the risk of projects failing. So if no goals are achieved, no donations are paid out, they're returned to the donors, and the people who lose their money are the impact investors. So they underwrite that risk. But when goals are achieved, then obviously part of the money goes to the charities, and some of the money also goes to pay back the impact investors with interest. So that's how we're sort of squaring that circle. You also need to obviously provide investors with a reason to do this rather than just do normal traditional impact investing and just carry on the way that they've been doing it. As I said before, there are some really big problems around access to data. So this gives them real-time access to the data of the projects they've invested in. It streamlines all the legal costs, meaning that because it's in smart contracts, you can have any number of impact investors who come in throughout the life cycle of a project. You can also port the legal structure from project to project. There's an inbuilt liquidity there because actually the impact investment is tokenized. One of the big problems with impact investment is just the timeline, the time that it takes for outcomes to be achieved. So if you have a project that's helping disadvantaged kids go to school, but you only measure the impact 15 years down the line when they actually find a job, then there are very few impact investors who can have that kind of investment horizon. You know, generally it's 4 or 5 years. So with this, there's total transparency over what's been achieved to date, and you can easily sell on your investment to a secondary investor who have like perfect transparency, which is really great for them. And then finally, because you have all of this impact data available, it reduces all the due diligence costs and the measurement costs and everything. So it's really great for them. We have a lot of impact investors who are going to help us trial this out. There's a demo of this. So it's not the user front end, it's just a graphical representation of the contracts that you can spin up yourself by going to demo.alice.si, play around with that. There's very little documentation, so you might struggle a bit. If you want to get involved and help us with the documentation, you can go to our GitHub and help us out. We do need help. But have a look. There are also some other interesting things on there. A tool that we called Ethereoscope, which is a smart contract state explorer, where you can pull out the variables of smart contracts and see how they've evolved over time. Just have a poke around and see what you think. And as I said, there are other parts to the protocol that we're going to be building in the coming years. The end game is to really have high quality comparable data that's publicly accessible with automated payments and reporting so that you can easily identify and then scale truly effective projects. I think like most other companies on this stage, we're hiring. So if you're interested in this, please come and talk to me. I'll be here throughout the conference. Thank you very much.